Welcome to the second episode of Phenomenal Top 5. We always hear about abandoned and haunted hospitals with paranormal stories mixtures between rumors and legends, including ghosts, ritual activities, and mysterious disappearances. In this video, there are top 5 most abandoned and haunted hospitals in the world. Number 5, Athens Mental Hospital, USA. The Athens Lunatic Asylum, now a development known as the Ridges, was a mental hospital in Athens, Ohio. It was in operation from 1874 until 1993. The ground was broken in mid-autumn of 1868, with the first iteration of the asylum consisting of only 141 acres, much less than the usual Kirkbride designs of the time. Over the years, the hospital sprawled, and it grew to occupy over 1,000 acres. The first patient treated at the hospital was a 14-year-old girl with epilepsy, which was considered to be caused by the possession of a demon. Epilepsy was a reason for admission in the early years of the asylum. The first annual report stated that 31 men and 19 women were admitted due to epilepsy during the first year. Records from the asylum tell of what caused mental illness during the time of its operations, as well as the practice of lobotomies and other harmful treatments. The Ohio University collected information in regards to the training that the asylum employees underwent, some of which had none. More disturbing is the documentation of electroshock therapy, lobotomy, hydrotherapy, and early psychotropic drugs, most of which have become known as being extremely inhumane. What is known is that there are 1,930 people buried across 3 cemeteries located at the Ridges. Most of these people were patients who were unclaimed by their families and are marked only with a number, their names dying with them, a truly heartbreaking thought. By the 1980s the cemeteries were no longer being taken care of, and vandalism as well as natural weathering caused irreparable damage. These days, the National Alliance on Mental Illness is working to gather information about the patients buried there, and to restore their headstones and the cemetery as a whole, bringing their memory back to the forefront. Number 4, Airedale Lunatic Asylum, Australia. Once known as the Ararat Lunatic Asylum, the Airedale Asylum was a psychiatric hospital in Ararat, a rural city in Victoria, Australia. Now considered a ghost town, the Airedale Asylum campus contains over 70 now abandoned buildings that once housed over 1,000 patients. Airedale and its 2 sister asylums at Kew and Beechworth were built to accommodate the growing number of patients in need of psychiatric care in Victoria. Construction of the asylum began in 1864 with the guardhouse being built just a few years later in 1866. Even though the list of patients admitted started in 1865. The asylum was designed by G.W. Vivian and John James Clark, Vivian's assistant. Airedale was designed after the asylums being built at Kew and Beechworth and was the first of the 3 that were completed. Back when Airedale was in use, the criminally insane were placed in run-of-the-mill prisons, left without the specialized care they needed. The government of Victoria saw the need for a proper care facility and wanted Airedale to be the place that would relieve the prison system of the criminally insane. Soon, it became a place for individuals suffering from mental illness, postnatal depression, autism, anxiety, depression, PTSD, and Down syndrome. This mixture of criminals and members of society who needed Airedale's special care created conflict and violence at the asylum. During its 130 years of operation, over 13,000 inmates, patients, and staff members lost their lives at the asylum. This left a dark emotional stain on the property that can be seen today. Some locals even swear that Airedale Asylum is the single most haunted location in all of Australia. While reports exist of apparitions, phantom sounds, visitors experiencing nausea, fainting, and pain, some ghosts from Airedale's past have made themselves known to those who are alive today. Number 3, Taunton State Asylum, USA. Taunton State is a psychiatric hospital located in Taunton, Massachusetts. Now just a shell of one of Massachusetts' haunted hospitals, the building opened its doors in 1854. Taunton State bore witness to hundreds of psychiatric patients and, more notably, a couple of notorious serial killers. Originally known as the State Lunatic Hospital at Taunton, it was the second of its kind in the state of Massachusetts. The complex itself was expanded several times to make room for more and more patients. At its largest, it was comprised of over 40 structures. The main building, Kirkbride, Closed in 1975, and after its demise, the rest of the buildings fell into a state of disrepair. Sadly, innocent people such as veterans who sustained brain injuries and those with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and Tourette syndrome were admitted to the hospital. Women who experienced anxiety and panic attacks, postpartum depression, and even fatigue were also high on the list of those brought to the hospital. Rumors choked the area, stating that while the original hospital was in operation, a notorious satanic cult in the area operated it. It is said they would take patients into the basement to conduct dark rituals and even human sacrifices. Today, there are still strange and unexplained markings on the walls of the basements, and while the hospital was still open, staff would attempt to go downstairs into the basement area only to be stopped by a force once their foot reached the bottom step. Another commonly reported happening are the ghastly disembodied screams that echo from the hospital grounds. Blood-curdling, horrifying screams they are. Cries for help and sobbing are also heard when moving about the hospital. These hauntings have even seeped into the surrounding woods. The entire campus is deemed haunted. Taunton State Hospital is even referred to as America's most haunted asylum, and that the devil himself checked in there. Number 2, Beechworth Lunatic Asylum, Australia. Beechworth Lunatic Asylum, formerly known as the Haunted Mayday Hills Lunatic Asylum, is a decommissioned hospital in Victoria, Australia. Nothing like an abandoned asylum to make you suddenly start believing in ghosts, and the one in Beechworth pretty much takes the cake when it comes to the spooky factor. The asylum, established in 1867, lasted until 1995, housing roughly 1,200 patients at capacity and 500 staff members at its peak. Like many asylums, Beechworth Asylum has a dark and sad history. Little was known about mental health in the 19th century, let alone how to treat mental health issues properly. Medication wasn't introduced until the 1950s, meaning that some of the treatment bestowed upon patients was cruel and barbaric. Common forms of treatment included the use of restraints, such as shackles and straitjackets, as well as isolation boxes and electroconvulsive therapy, while teeth were pulled as punishment to those who self-harmed. Lobotomies were also performed, with prefrontal lobotomies popular during the late 1940s and early 1950s. This institution proved to be the final stop for over a century. From rattling cellars to disembodied screams, visitors have reported some bone-chilling tales of paranormal activity. Over the course of its 130-year history, the mental hospital lost roughly 9,000 of its inmates who are said to haunt the property to this day, including a young girl who was mysteriously thrown from a window. The reason never being explained. Number 1, Waverly Hills Sanatorium, USA. Louisville's Waverly Hills Sanatorium has been called the most terrifying building in America, with an infamous history that draws paranormal thrill seekers from all over the world. Waverly Hills has always been a well-known Louisville landmark, first as a tuberculosis treatment center in the early and mid-1900s to its more recent haunted history. Before it gained fame as a so-called haunted site, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium served as an important medical center in Louisville. Construction on the site began in 1908 and it opened in 1910 to serve as an isolated medical center for patients afflicted with tuberculosis, which had been spreading through the Louisville area. After an expansion in 1926, the property could hold more than 400 patients at once. Tuberculosis was often deadly and extremely contagious, so patients were usually kept quarantined in secluded spaces. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium was built as a self-sufficient community, with its own zip code post office and farmland. Doctors and other employees were unable to leave the grounds. Tuberculosis treatments advanced in the early 1960s, as an antibiotic that could cure the disease was developed. The facility was closed and renovated in 1961, reopening the following year as a nursing home where it served patients until closing again in 1981. Waverly Hills remained closed for about 20 years at that time, as the property fell into disrepair. It was purchased in 2001 by current owners Charlie and Tina Mattingly, who founded the Waverly Hills Historical Society 2 years later. In a 2001 newspaper story ahead of an on-site taping of Fox Family's Scariest Places on Earth, a Courier-Journal reporter noted, countless local legends about the place being haunted had been fueled by the high number of people who succumbed to tuberculosis during the more than 50 years it housed patients. That was the review of the top 5 most abandoned and haunted hospitals in the world. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment with your thoughts and ideas for the future videos.